Well, we're back again with the Ambitions in Bloom showcase, which is going to be running from May the 31st until the 12th of June UTC. Keep in mind the end date. It seems like it lines up with the current end date of the Echoes of Antiquity event, and I'm very tempted to think that we might be seeing a potential limited summer showcase just after this. But anyway, enough speculation, let's get straight into the showcase. So first up we have the 5-star Fire Wand, Student Maribelle. So this is another alternate skin that we're seeing for an existing adventurer. Student Maribelle's first skill is Study Break. It is a line attack in front of her with a single ball-like projectile, and it deals 12 hits. It has a 50% chance to reduce the defense of targets hit by 5% for 10 seconds. Her skill 2, Happy Memories, is an AoE that's centered around Student Maribelle. Deals 2 hits of high damage, but I think it also has quite a high SP cost. Being a wand unit, Maribelle has the skill damage co-ability, and for her other abilities she has full hit points equals skill damage 40% boost, she has stun resist, and broken punisher. It's a decent overall kit. The defense down is nice on a quick charging first skill for Study Break, though keep in mind that this variation of Maribelle lacks skill prep, unlike the wind one. I'd also say that Broken Punisher is a bit strange. We could have seen like another more sort of less spiky ability, because obviously Broken Punisher only applies during parts of the fight. But hey, maybe with Resounding Rendition with your premier skill damage print, that kind of thing, and Chocolatiers, we could have full skill prep Maribelle just deleting high mid cards on her. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. For the next unit up in the showcase, we have 4-star Water Staff, Nurse Aeleen. Aeleen? I'm not entirely sure. But yet another variation on an existing adventurer. Aeleen's first skill, Medicinal Cure, is a regen style heal that also has skill shift. Phase 2 gives a defense buff for 5 seconds, and Phase 3 buffs strength for 10 seconds. However, this skill also has a 33% extra SP cost over Varika's regen heal, so you might want to consider whether or not it's worth it to pay the extra, or at least have to wait longer for the charge for the small defense buff and somewhat larger strength buff. Stun resist points are naturally towards Fire Imperial Onslaught, and within those fights I'm not entirely sure whether or not she will reach Phase 3 for the strength buff. Anyway, Nurse Aeleen's second skill, Naturopathy, heals Aeleen and nearby allies and also cleanses stun. It's a small circle AoE, and I'd say it's roughly about 1 dodge roll in radius, or maybe similar to Adetta's heal. Being a staff unit, Aeleen has a recovery potency co-ability, and her other abilities are 75% skill prep, stun resist, and a new ability, United Haste. So this increases the fill rate of her skill gauge with the number of active team members. So I'm going to assume that this means, I don't know, I'm not entirely sure what active team members refers to, because we generally run teams of 4 adventurers, so maybe it's referring to how many other players are in your co-op rooms? I'm not entirely sure. Either way, it's nice to have a new 4-star Water Staff with stun resist, because that means that, well, we don't have to rely on Ricard for that sort of thing though. However, do keep in mind that there have already been some clears of Hybra and Hilda with Nurse Aeleen, but it requires a pretty steep investment in terms of dragons, a certain Wyrmprint setup, and obviously all your facilities as well. Next up on the showcase we have the 4-star Fire Sword, Serena, who has the defensive stat line. Her first skill, Assault Flame, deals 2 hits in a line in front of Serena and also grants her a 10% crit rate buff for 5 seconds. Serena's skill 2, Blazing Pain, deals 4 hits to enemies ahead. Being a sword unit, Serena has the Dragon Haste co-ability. In terms of other abilities, she has Barrage Obliteration, which is a 6% buff to critical damage for every 20 hit combo, up to 3 times in a fight. She also has Stun Resist, and her final ability is Barrage Devastation, which grants her a 3% buff to crit rate for every 30 hit combo, up to 3 times in a fight. Keep in mind these are actually new. These are permanent buffs based on your combo count, Serena has a very offensively oriented set of skills and abilities, but then the defense designation reduces her base maximum strength by about 10%, which is a bit unfortunate. With stun resist, this means Serena is another unit aimed for high midgard's armor, but she would also be useful in the current event. Now, for the dragon added in this showcase is very interesting. We have the 5-star fire dragon Konohana Sakuya, who grants, at maximum unbind, 20% strength and 70% skill damage. Her skill, Deciduous Dance, deals 1 hit to a target and nearby enemies, and also grants the user a buff that increases the damage of their next skill by 40%. A Reddit post by Naive Ryolu has done some theory crafting regarding the breakpoints of where Konohana Sakuya beats out 60% strength dragons. There's diminishing returns for Konohana Sakuya's skill damage buff, depending on how much skill damage you have, like you already have, for example from Wyrmprints. Although, keep in mind that one co-abilities is actually multiplicative on top of existing bonuses, so Konohana Sakuya scales a bit better with wand units. Assuming you have 0 Wyrmprints, you need roughly 48% of your damage to come from skills over the course of a fight for, let's call it KS, to be better than Cerberus or Agni, assuming no Wyrmprints. The more skill damage that you get from Wyrmprints, the larger proportion of your damage has to come from skills in order for KS to beat out Agni and Cerberus, due to the fact that you get diminishing returns on that 70% skill damage buff. I'll leave a link in the description below to the Dragalia Lost subreddit post, and if you want to do some calculations or some theory crafting of your own, you could head over to the Blue's DPS simulations and sort of figure out, when played, well, in a simulation, how much of the damage of your adventurers actually comes from skills. Anyway, while not part of the showcase, we still have some Wyrmprints that have been added in the same update. The 5-star Wyrmprint, Study Rabbits, is a Wyrmprint that grants a defense up buff when your hit points are over 70%, and also an 8% HP buff. This print seems somewhat aimed towards healers. The two effects synergize due to the fact that the increased hit points also means that you can lose more hit points before you lose the 70% buff, and hit point buffs actually sort of passively increase your healing potency as well due to how that's calculated. The 4-star Wyrmprint added with this showcase is Beauty Secret. The first ability is that you get a 10% strength buff when your hit points are over 70%, and also up to 50% burn resist. I think this is already a decent print due to the strength buff ability, and it might also enable you to bring some non-full burn resist units to Hybrid Hilda. And some more stuff that's not part of the showcase, but still added in the same update, so I'll talk about them anyway. So we have the Echoes of Antiquity event, which grants us 2 new units. Anyway, there's 1 new adventurer and 1 new dragon, both of which are free and you can earn by playing through the event. First up, we have Xuan Zang, the 4-star Fire Lance, who comes with the event. Her first skill, Flame Incursion, deals 3 hits to enemies ahead, and also deals bonus damage to debuffed enemies. At maximum level, the bonus damage is roughly about 1/6 on top of the full damage. Her second skill, Heaven's Binding, reduces the strength and defense of a target and nearby enemies by 5 and 10% respectively at max level for 20 seconds. Keep in mind this skill does no damage and essentially would be a way for you to buff your S1, as well as buffing the amount of damage that your teammates are doing. Being a Lance unit, she has the Lance co-ability, which is a hit point boost. In terms of other abilities, she has Demi-Human's Bane, which sort of positions her to do well in the current event, as well as up to 75% stun resist, and a critical rate up by 6% buff when her hit points are 70% or above. She's a fairly okay welfare unit overall. The debuff skill deals no damage, but the 10% defense down I think could contribute quite a lot to overall team or raid damage. As for the free dragon added with this event, we have Yulong, who is a 5-star wind dragon. Although being a welfare dragon, he only grants up to 30% strength. His skill deals 3 hits to surrounding enemies. I'd say this is a good dragon for free-to-play players, since he has a higher strength bonus than Midgard's armor. But even if you don't really need Yulong, I'd say get at least 1 to make sure that you have him in the Dragon's Roost and slowly earn that Sunlight Ore. The Wyrmprint added with the event is a Maddened Master, which at maximum unbind grants you 10% wind resist and 5% overdrive punishing. The first defensive ability as well as the second 5% overdrive punisher makes it a pretty mediocre print, so I wouldn't really recommend you get it. Maybe get a few copies just so you can sell them for Eldwater, that kind of thing. Overall, with the Ambitions in Bloom showcase, I'm gonna stick to doing daily pulls. If you watched my previous pull video where I pulled for Galamim, then I tried to say, at least, even though my audio quality was absolutely terrible, that you generally don't want to be pulling on banners that aren't limited because those adventurers remain in the pool. And if you're pulling for adventurers that remain in the pool, that increases the chances that you end up getting duplicates in Gala showcases and other limited banners as well. However, if your fire team needs a bit of a boost and I am actually kind of worried that the new difficulty of the raid coming out in a couple of days might require a Maribelle. But we'll have to see. Pull if you need some stronger fire units, because obviously there's the rate up on the 5-star fire wand, but otherwise I'm going to stick to daily pulls. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you luck in your upcoming pulls.